You want Philly?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sanders patiently running. Sanders good cut. And another block. Sanders still going inside the 40.
NFC East champs, divisional champs, NFC champs, and world champs.
Hello, everybody, and it is here. Finally, Dallas week, and one of the biggest Dallas weeks in years. The 5-0 Philadelphia Eagles do battle with the 4-1 Dallas Cowboys Sunday Night Football at the Link in Philly. I'm your host, LJ Harrell, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Connor Donald. Connor, we made it. Only a couple days away from the game time.
Yeah, and what better way to get it all started than to know that we are going in with essentially a clean bill of health. The only two guys who are questionable are Josh Jobe, who doesn't do much, and Janaris Robinson, who hasn't played a game yet for us. So I guess we have a clean bill of health as far as we're concerned. And also kind of excited night. This is episode 20 as part of the Painted Lines team. So this is pretty cool. I know
I should have kept track of that. Whoops. I'm glad you did.
I was on YouTube and I was like pulling it together, and I saw, oh shoot, look at this! I'm putting together episode 20. I was like, this is kind of cool.
I want to know how many episodes we've done in the four-ish years that we've been doing this. That's what I want to know.
Oof, boys, I can tell you right now, we almost went weekly for quite a while. If we aren't near 200 episodes, I'd be shocked at this point. But 20 with the awesome Painted Lines family. So thank you so much for having us aboard and letting us share all our, our personality and our thoughts and perspective on the Philadelphia Eagles. So
yeah, definitely. And we have a big one this week, Connor. But before we get into it, please follow us on Twitter at Kelly Green Hour. Follow Connor on Twitter at Connor10. Follow me on Twitter at LJ Harrell54. Follow the Painted Lines on Twitter and YouTube at the Painted Lines. And follow Edge of Philly Sports on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube at Edge of Philly Sports or EOP Sports. And if you're here with us, drop a line in the chat. Let us know your thoughts on the upcoming game, players to watch, your prediction. And we, as we do every episode, we love to get you guys involved in it. So please comment. Let us know your thoughts as we get ready for the biggest game of the season, just a little over 48 hours away. I think we're about 50 hours away from game time. So it can't get here fast enough. Sunday's going to be a long day. I'll be watching a bunch of Red Zone all day, but that 8:20 kickoff can't get here fast enough, Connor.
Yeah, no, I agree. While I love the fact that we're in prime time and we can focus 100% on that game and nothing going on around us, that's a major positive. And it's Dallas week, so it wouldn't have mattered anyways. I would have been 100% focused on this game over anything anyways. Speaking
of prime time, Denver's in their fourth prime time game this week. Like, really? The Broncos? Obviously with the trade for Russell Wilson, a lot of people thought they'd be a lot better, but my God, I've had enough of Denver Bronco football.
Yeah, I think the NFL clearly expected more from that team, and I will admit I was one who thought that they would be a lot better, but maybe we're at a point now where maybe Russ might.
I don't think Nathaniel Hackett is going to be a good cat. Nathaniel Hackett is made from Aaron Rodgers. Let's be real. Yeah, just like Adam Gase was made from Peyton Manning.
And one of the big things, like in Seattle, they're already saying a comment was made, like it's nice to go into a huddle and leave the huddle knowing we're going to do the same play instead of Russ, who constantly changed the plays. Kind of sounds a lot like the Carson Wentz situation, which Ron Rivera took back his comments, but we know, Ron, and now there's this report out there that Dan Snyder, who wasn't supposed to be involved with the team at all, forced their hand to bring Carson Wentz in, and all that drama. I'm glad it's over in Philly.
So speaking of drama, Daniel Snyder's talking heavy with a lot of stuff he says. He has on other owners. He has on Roger Goodell. If he drops something, it's going to be crazy. But
I hope Jeffrey Lurie is a cleaner than most owner, because we don't want him involved.
We think that, but you never know. You never know. All right, so let's jump into this Eagles-Cowboys game. This is going to be, Dallas will be the best defense the Eagles have played, and I think the Eagles' offense will be the best offense Dallas has played. So hopefully he has something on Howie. Dave and your hatred for Howie. What's going on, Dave? Thanks for joining us this evening. But yeah, so that was funny. That was good, Dave. Yeah, I mean, we have the Eagles' strength is their offensive line. Dallas' strength is their defensive line, man on man. Let's see who's got the bet. Let's see who's got it. It's going to be a great, compelling matchup. Obviously, when you talk Dallas, you talk their defense, you talk Micah Parsons, unfortunately. I can't stand him for two fronts. He went to Penn State, and now he's a Cowboy, so I can't stand him on two fronts. I know he had that groin injury last week, played through it. I was hoping that, potentially it got worse this week. It didn't. It's unfortunate. So he'll be out there. For the Eagles offensively, we don't know who's starting at left tackle. Jordan Mailata was a full participant in practice, has no designation, should be good to go. There's talk of maybe Andre Dillard being the starter. It'll be interesting to see what happens on Sunday night and who the Eagles put out at left tackle, because I can foresee Micah Parsons lining up on the left side of the Eagles offense. He's not going to line up against Lane Johnson. Lane Johnson hasn't given up a sniff to the quarterback in like 2 years. So why would you go up against the Eagles' best offensive lineman? Go up against whoever the other side, the guy that is not potentially as good as Lane Johnson, and it'll be a battle, and the Eagles are going to have to help whoever's on the left side of the line.
Yeah, that was one of the things I said today when I saw Ed Cracks tweeted about, he got a feeling that it might be Andre Dillard going this week. And then the practice report was released soon after that tweet saying Jordan Mailata had no designation for Sunday. But I think no matter what, the biggest thing is, because Jordan Mailata says he's around 80%, Andre Dillard's probably 90, 95, maybe even 100%, because he's coming back from an injury as well. And then you got Jack Driscoll, who you can kind of trust, but you definitely need to help him a lot more than either of those other guys. But no matter what, I think you definitely have to help with Micah Parsons. He's a beast. He like, as much as I hate to talk very highly of him, he's really good, and we can't deny that. As much as you hate him from a couple different fronts, and I hate him because he's a Cowboy, and I would never trade Devontae Smith for the world. That pick was a great pick, and it's going to continue to pay dividends as the years go on. Micah Parsons is going to be something to fear in the NFL for many years to come, just as much as Devontae Smith is, maybe even more, because he terrorizes your quarterback week in and week out. And it's even worse because I think I was looking at on PFF earlier today, DeMarcus Lawrence has like top 5 pressures or top 10 total pressures, and Micah Parsons is number 1 in total pressures. So both of these guys are generating a lot of pressure. And I know I have all the confidence in the world in Lane Johnson, but that's scary because it means no matter where you put these guys, they're probably going to make it a very tough day at the office for both sides of the offensive line.
Looking at the teams that Dallas has played thus far, they week 1, they lost to Tampa. They were going through some issues at the time, and they scored, I guess, the season high on Dallas of 19 points. Then they got a Cincinnati team whose offensive line is awful, and they weren't clicking at the time. They played the Rams last week. They played the Giants, and the Giants, I think, are a fraud at 4-1. Even though they beat Green Bay last week, but I do still think that the Giants are a fraud. They played Washington, who has one of the worst offensive lines in football, and then they played the Rams, who are having a big Super Bowl hangover. So, this will be the best offense that Dallas has faced in terms of the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles' offensive line is healthy. At least it appears to be healthy. Jalen Hurts is playing at an all-time high level. And, while the Eagles aren't going to say they want bulletin board material, but DeMarcus Lawrence kind of gave it to the Eagles yesterday, saying, you'll see Sunday night, and not trying to give any respect to what Jalen Hurts and the Eagles' offense has done. And while Sirianni said, we don't need bulletin board material, if you need bulletin board material for a game like this, then you shouldn't be in the NFL. It's true. But if you have the opposing team not giving you respect, which DeMarcus Lawrence is that type of person, he doesn't give respect to the Eagles. And I think DeMarcus Lawrence is a little overrated at that as well. But, I hope that he lines up against Lane Johnson. Lane Johnson locks his butt up. And, put some respect on their name, if you know what I mean. Go after them. So, look, we can allow Dallas to go out there and talk that talk, but I think right now, the Eagles, I think that home field advantage is going to be big for the Eagles. So the Link's going to be rocking, and depending on what happens with the Phillies this weekend, it could be an all-time high morale for Philadelphia sports fans, and what a capper it would be to dominate the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday Night Football.
Absolutely. And I mean, like you said, the competition has been, subpar, but I mean, we've been beaten up on subpar talent as well. So Dallas is winning with the backup, winning games that they kind of probably
they're winning with their defense.
Yeah, they're winning with their defense, but they're winning the thing is they're not exactly easy games. Like Cincinnati, when you looked at the schedule, Tampa Bay, Cincinnati, and the LA Rams were not easy teams. And while the offensive lines aren't good, the Rams, the offensive line isn't that good right now either. But while the offensive lines aren't good, we can't deny the numbers. The numbers are huge at what they're putting up. So even if they get half that type of output this week, it's still going to be a lot of pressure on the quarterback. It's still going to be a lot of, we need to be way better than we were last week. 100% we need to be better. This is going to easily, without a doubt, be the best defense we've played leaps and bounds, and it's not even close.
Chris, it's Cowboys, Sixers. It's like that. It's like that right there. Right there.
Who does LJ hate more for those listening on podcast form?
It's right there. Right there. I hope the Sixers go 0-82. I really hope they do. That'll be great. And then if they go 0-82, they swap that first round pick with the Brooklyn Nets. So,
Our guy Matt back with the fire, Howie. Love to see that.
You're talking about how Dallas is winning with a backup quarterback. They're also I put it like this. You remember back when Andy Reid was here and Donovan would get hurt, Donovan would sit out, and they would play AJ Feely. They would play Jeff Garcia. They would play the backup quarterbacks. The game plan would completely change. It would go to a run-based offense, short passes, quick passes, get the ball out of the quarterback. But then when Donovan would come back, they're gonna go with, let's go back to throwing the ball 75% of the time and trying to throw the ball downfield. I feel like they're doing that with Cooper Rush compared to when
100%. 100%
He's not asked to win the games. He's asked to manage the games. He hands the ball off to Zeke. He hands the ball off to Pollard. He'll throw quick passes to CeeDee Lamb. He'll throw a quick pass to Dalton Schultz. But then when Dak comes out there, it's like the Dak show. They're going to try to force the ball down the field and whatnot. And that's what I'm sensing with them. So, honestly, I would feel better facing Dak this week than I am facing Cooper Rush this week. Because I think we would be able to get to Dak. I think Cooper Rush is going to get rid of the ball quick. Because he knows that his line's banged up a little bit. I mean, Tyler Smith has been all right. Jason Peters is going to be out. Connor McGovern is he's a mediocre guard. Zach Martin's good. Terrence Steele is, I think, a mediocre tackle. So if I'm Gannon, hopefully he's playing up on the receivers, not playing back like he did last week, and maybe bringing one or two extra guys every once in a while to get after Rush, because he's going to get rid of the ball fast. But if Dak was out there, I think Dak is going to hold on to it to try to get a big play down the field, to CeeDee Lamb or to Michael Gallup. And so we'll definitely see what happens. And Dave, so you disagree with my rather face Dak than Rush take here? But that's what I think. I think that Dallas has a better shot at beating us with Rush this week than they do with Dak if Dak were to come back.
Yeah, I agree. And I was actually pulling up the stats on Cooper Rush here on PFF with his average time to throw. His average time to throw ranks currently 10th in the NFL, it looks like, at 2.4. If we take out Jordan Love, Tyrod Taylor, Brian Hoyer, Phil Walker for Carolina. Yeah, so he's ninth in average time to throw. He throws the ball in about 2.4 seconds, which is really quick. But while I do agree their offense looks completely different, and if Dak Prescott goes out there and throwing the ball around, we probably have a better chance to force turnovers, get those interceptions. I agree with you in regards to Cooper Rush but this is this is what a good backup is. A good backup knows his role in regards to, especially this early in the season, when you know that your starting quarterback is coming out at some point, you just got to keep your team afloat. And for me, I honestly thought maybe keep them afloat around 500, but instead they're one game behind us. They are a win away from taking over first place from us and planting us in potentially third place. So he's doing his job in regards to, yes, everything is dumbed down. Everything is simplified. Yes, they're leaning on Pollard more. They're leaning on Zeke more. But that is exactly what you want. He's being a game manager, and he's being a really good and really effective game manager at that. And I mean, I pulled up the numbers. Their offense, I know we're not talking the Dallas offense yet, but their offense has scored 18.6 points per game. That's it. That ranks 24th in the NFL. Like, they're not scoring points, but they don't have to because their defense has been that good at just forcing turnovers, at making sure that the quarterback doesn't get comfortable, doesn't have the time to throw the football like they want to. And so everything is working perfectly the way they need it to work. And the Eagles have to make sure that they throw that balance off, whether that be, Cooper Rush, we get after the quarterback really quickly, whether we just take away the ability to do the short, quick pass by playing that press man coverage, playing more aggressively in our coverage, whether it's we come out hot and heavy on offense and we start producing early on. We just have to change the pace of game that Dallas has been used to. And when you leave that to Cooper Rush and Cooper Rush has to start putting points, I would rather see our offense come out on top of their defense. Because if you're forced to make Cooper Rush throw the ball and make Cooper Rush score, Cooper Rush is not going to do a very good job. And I don't think he's going to be very effective, and I don't think he's going to be able to go shot for shot against the Eagles offense.
Well, that's where my fear of Jonathan Gannon calling plays comes into play, because he was really bad last week. I don't know what that game plan was, but whatever it was, it needs to get thrown out the window. It was the game plan we saw last year when we faced good quarterbacks. It's play off, don't get beat deep. But when you're playing 10 yards off, that's an easy 5-yard catch and maybe get a first down, catch and run. So we need to see – you have two really good corners. Avonte Maddox should be back this week. So 3 really good corners. Put them up on the receivers, and let Epps and Gardner Johnson, if they have to play not deep safety, but play back just in case, CeeDee Lamb were to break loose. Sure, fine. But with the way Slay and Bradbury are playing, I have no issue with them line man up on Dallas's receivers. Michael Gallup is this is his 3rd game back from his ACL injury, I think. 3rd or 4th game back. So we'll definitely see how, what type of speed he has, because I don't watch Dallas games. If the Eagles aren't playing, I'm watching Red Zone. So it is what it is. But I just need Gannon.
This is the type of game that if they end up deciding to play 5 or 10 yards off and give them something, this is a game where this quarterback is 100% going to take exactly what is given to him, and that is his job. That's 100% his job. So if we play anything remotely close to what we did last week, we are going to be picked apart as bad, if not worse, because Kyler Murray is a starting quarterback. Kyler Murray is a guy who wants to push the pace of the game. He wants to score points. He wants to make plays. Cooper Rush is the complete opposite. He is more than willing to go 5 yards here, 5 yards here, 6 yards here, 8 yards here. He will go the short to intermediate game and never throw the ball more than 10 yards if we're giving it to him. Mm-hmm. And he would be 100% comfortable doing that. And I don't blame him. I would do it too, because that would be all you need to do to end up keeping pace with us, because that's also going to give them a lot more time of possession. If they're just taking little plays instead of getting a big chunk play or going and scoring really quickly, that's all they need to do. And then we lose something that we have dominated all season, and that's time of possession. Without time of possession, we are probably not going to beat the Cowboys, because we need all those things to work that have been working, and we need to make Cooper Rush uncomfortable.
Since we're talking the Dallas offense, I want to mention something for the Eagles defense. This could be a Jordan Davis game, because the Eagles run defense is a lot better when Jordan Davis is on the field. And we know Dallas, Jerry Jones has said it time and time again, they want to run the football, especially now with Cooper Rush. And, you're going to have to stop Zeke. You're going to have to stop Tony Pollard, who, broke a big one. I think he broke a big one last week against the Rams. So Jordan Davis, play that 5-man front, put him over the center, Tyler Biadasz. I don't know how to say his last name. Tyler B for Dallas, and let Jordan Davis manhandle him, throw him into the quarterback, throw him into the running back, ruin the timing of any of the running plays that Dallas has called. And you won't allow Tony Pollard or Zeke Elliott to break off 5, 10, 15-yard runs and a clip, because if you do allow that, then that allows for the play action. And I think Cooper Rush is better when he can do a play action pass, because if you're keying in on Zeke or keying in on Pollard and you run a play action pass with Cooper Rush, he'll be able to find a Dalton Schultz coming across the middle of the field, a CeeDee Lamb, a Michael Gallup. So that's what the Eagles are going to have to, do. They're going to have to get pressure up the middle and force Dallas not to be able to run on the edges and be able to get 5, 10, 15 yards a clip.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And Chris is in here dropping some good stats. Rush is 29th in the league in intended air yards. The Eagles defense needs to be physical at the line of scrimmage. 100% agree, Chris. 100%. They have to be playing right up on them almost the entirety of the game, unless there is something that dramatically shifts where you really have to completely shift your focus and shift your game plan. There's no reason why you're not playing that way. And I understand that the fear would be CeeDee Lamb. I wouldn't fear Michael Gallup yet. You'd be hard pressed to convince me he's at 100% or anywhere near it yet. And Noah Brown has been effective for them, but I find he's more effective and more dangerous, in the shorter yardage game, and in the red zone and helping to get those small plays there. But yeah, everything points to a game plan that looks so dramatically different than what we saw Jonathan Gannon call last week that it scares the living hell out of me to think that we have to trust Gannon to call a play much different than what last week's game was. Because like you said earlier in the episode, you're not going against a team's starting quarterback. You're going up against a team's backup game manager who's trying to keep this team afloat for, I would say, one more week. I would not be surprised if Dak Prescott is back next week. I can't remember who they play, but he's likely back next week or the week after, and then they get the bye in the week after that. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's back next week. He was throwing the ball off to the side. He's questionable this week. Everything just seems to be lining up for him to make that comeback next week. So all he needs to do is keep them afloat one more week. And what bigger week to do it than to game manage your way to a victory against the last remaining undefeated team and the team that is currently leading the NFC East. That would be humongous for the Dallas Cowboys. And that's something that Jonathan Gannon and Nick Sirianni absolutely cannot let happen. Like we said in the last episode, we kind of touched on, there's people who are saying, oh, if we lose, we lose. I don't really care. No. This is a season shifting week. And I get it, mate. Is it over dramatic to say that in week 6? Potentially. But how big of a game changer is it to go to 6-0 and have the Dallas Cowboys 4-2? We would be talking, if it's a difference of 5-1 and 5-1, we are talking about such a different scenario come week 18 or come going pound for pound, week for week in the last couple weeks to win this NFC East.
Looking at the Dallas schedule, they have Detroit and Chicago after us.
They have the easier half of their schedule at the back end. Like you said already, they played the Tampa Bay. They played the Rams. They've played Cincinnati. They've played a lot of tough teams, but they just took complete advantage of those teams.
And those teams were also playing very bad at the time. And that's what happens. You can't get, or you can't pick when you play them in the schedule. It just happens to appear. But yeah, so you'll see. And maybe, do you think the way the Eagles played last week, just the way they came out, that could be considered a trap game? I didn't think that this team would come out and play as lackadaisical as they did, and it would be a trap game looking at Dallas. But that's kind of what it, like, after thinking about it for a couple of days, I think maybe they kind of just overlooked Arizona a little bit because they knew the big Dallas matchup was coming up.
Potentially, but I don't think that's that the players weren't playing hard. Like I think trap games are more on the players, not the coaching staff. It was just a putrid game calling from an offensive and a defensive perspective. So unless maybe Gannon and Steichen were looking ahead, but why would they be looking ahead? It makes no sense. You play for that game, you play for that week, and then you have a whole week to prepare for the next team and think about that next game. To me, I get the idea behind it. I feel like last week's game, if it had been a loss, would be more on Steichen and Gannon and the gameplay call and the play call and that they put out there, because it was terrible on both sides of the ball. The offense couldn't get going. It was screen after screen after screen. They didn't attack the middle of the field where we've been so effective all season with Dallas Goddard and with AJ Brown. The run game,
maybe they were holding back a little because they didn't want to. Obviously, there's 5 weeks of tape though, but they were holding back. Maybe they want to open it up more this week against Dallas, kind of come out and surprise them.
I hope so.
If there is a way that they can come out and surprise them and do something they haven't done all year.
I hope so, to be honest. But at this point, you have to do what you got to do to get the wins. And that win was not an easy win. That wasn't a pretty win. And we don't want to see that. At this point, the tape's going to keep piling up. They're going to watch all the games. They're going to find different niches in your game that they're going to pick apart. So at this point, you shouldn't be hiding things from your game plan just because you don't want Dallas to see it. They're going to look at the tape. They're going to review the games. And I'm sure you've shown a little bit of everything in each game that good defensive coordinators or good offensive coordinators can go ahead and start picking apart and building into their game plan.
Yeah, and you had mentioned it, how like there are people that are saying they lose this game, we're still fine. We're 5-1. We're still right there. And me and you, like we talked about on Tuesday, I disagree with that. When we beat Dallas, we faced Ben DiNucci. When we haven't beaten a good Dallas team in a long time. So I think for the mental part of it, just to get that monkey off your back, you have to come out here and be able to beat your division rivals, the team. And we've talked about it. The Eagles win, they go to 6-0, a 2-game lead over Dallas in the division. If they lose 5-1, Dallas jumps to first place in the conference and the division, and the Eagles potentially jump to third or drop to third place. So this game is bigger than a lot. Like people are like, it's early. Like I feel good about the. Well, you can still feel good about the Eagles, but this is a game that the Eagles have to freaking win. They have to win this game. I don't care. Like it's just frustrating that like. We hear all this, your schedule's so easy and you haven't beat any good teams. Well, this is a good team on the schedule right now. Beat them. I don't care who the starting quarterback is. The defense is apparently legit. I think they're not as good as San Francisco, but that's a different story for a different day. But like, come out there and prove that this 5-0 start isn't a fluke, because the minute you lose a game, and if you lose this one, you're going to have all these fraudulent Cowboy fans, as Dave is talking about. They'll be out there saying you suck and you haven't beaten anybody and see we're better. I don't want to hear that, especially all these dumbass Cowboy fans in this area that make no sense, that can't point out Texas on a damn map and has never been to Texas. I hate seeing it. I hate hearing it. Please beat the damn Cowboys.
And I think a big thing that people aren't taking note of, the Dallas Cowboys are already 2-0 within the division.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of our division games come at the end of the season, but they could already have complete control of a crucial tiebreaker in a division that ultimately could come down to a tiebreaker. Our schedule is one of the easiest going forward. Dallas gets way easier going forward than our schedule, than their schedule was to start the season, and they get their starting quarterback back. So you cannot allow a team to get a 3-0 stranglehold on a divisional tiebreaker, the primary tiebreaker to decide in this division at the end of the season. Taking any type of loss and allowing them to go 3-0, they only have 3 more games against the division. We would have 4 games against the division, but we already have a loss to our name. And look at the Commanders. Look at like you said, the Giants, they could be fraudulent. The Commanders are already not looking good at all. They're terrible. They could easily be another win for the Cowboys. That could be another 2 wins for the Cowboys coming up within the division. If you allow them to get to 5-0 and we end up fighting and potentially in a tiebreaker, they win the division based on a tiebreaker, based on likely looking back at this game, because we allowed them to get that advantage over us. So this game is like you said, this game maybe maybe we're the ones overreacting, but we are a team who has scored 135 points for. This is a team we're against that has scored 93 points for.
Their offense is not good. They weren't even good when Dak was
been
playing.
Terrible. No, exactly. So, like, they're terrible.
You can't come out here and play back and play, passive, and you have to be aggressive. Jam the receivers. CeeDee Lamb has the drops, so maybe you have that. Maybe you're able to, if you can get after Cooper Rush, maybe he'll throw one up to you, and we can get a Darius Slay pick or something. But yeah, if you play loose, if you play back, if you play passive, they're going to beat you. They don't mind. Cooper Rush doesn't mind dinking and dunking his way down the field.
And I know, like, in the NFL today, everyone loves a big passing game, but if a defense is willing to just give you things, we've watched it. Look at Derek Carr last year against us. Those guys don't care about primetime television, who the millions of people that are watching. If you're gonna allow them to, like you say, dink and dunk down the field, they're going to do it all day, every day. They're going to make an extremely boring game and take exactly what they're given all damn night, because they know at the end of the day, their odds of winning are way better if all they have to do is dink and dunk than going pound for pound, score for score, deep balls, big plays. They'll take those easy plays. They'll take that. And that, like I said earlier, that time of possession, they'll control the flow of the game.
So Chris put a stat. Cooper Rush is the 9th most pressured QB in the league at 25.2% per dropback, but he has only been hit 11 times, which is 25th. If you hit a quarterback enough, he's going to get jumbled. He's going to get rattled. That's what you have to do. Get after Cooper Rush, blitz Cooper Rush. Chris also mentioned he wants to see TJ Edwards, get going because he wasn't good last week. Yeah. Blitz TJ Edwards right up the middle. Let him get after the quarterback. Let him run right through Pollard or Zeke. If you can do all that, maybe you rattle Cooper Rush and he'll throw the ball to us a couple of times.
Absolutely. But I think a big thing with TJ Edwards last week is he's been schemed essentially into blitzes and pushed into different circumstances that have made him super successful. And because of how passive the play calling was last week, we didn't get to see the TJ Edwards that we've started to get used to, the one that's situationally blitzing, the guy who's breaking up plays and stuff. He was forced to play something that he's not because of the way that the passive play calling that was out there. So I would like to see just a more aggressive play calling altogether, because this is a team that even if they can get some big plays, they may not be able to put points on the board like you think they can put points on the board. It's already there. 93 points for, 72 points against. We're at 135 and 88. We have a plus 47 difference to their plus 21. Their defense is literally, they haven't won a game yet by more than 7 points. Their biggest win was 7 points. That's it. That's all, a touchdown. So they have literally lived and died on that defense. So if we can get the offense flowing and we can make Cooper Rush work for things, I think there's a really good chance that Cooper Rush, I wouldn't be surprised if Cooper Rush can't put more than 2 or 3 scores up. And I would probably give one of those scores at least as a field goal.
Yeah, so, we'll see what the Eagles defense can do against their offense. Let's jump over to our offense against their defense, which we kind of started to show off, but we kind of veered away from it. I'll talk about the secondary for Dallas. Trayvon Diggs while he had all those interceptions last year, he also gave up over 1,000 yards, and he's also given up big plays this year too. Gave up a big one to Cooper Kupp last week. He was covering him, and Kupp went across the field and ran away from him. Devontae, we have to get A.J. Brown involved early like they did last week, but continue to get him involved in the game. They went away from him after that first drive, after the first quarter. And that game plan, again, made no sense. And we talked about it. They threw 14 screens last week. 14. That's about, 10 too many or something like that. So we need to get – I know, I'm reading today. This is Dallas fans. We beat Daniel Jones and Carson Wentz. We them boys. This at the end of boys, it should have been a Z, Dave, not an S. But yeah, so like the Eagles, I think the Eagles wide receivers should be able to put if Jalen can get them the ball, and if the offensive line can protect Jalen, should be able to get the ball down the field. They should be able to catch some passes. I don't think Anthony Brown can cover Devontae Smith. I don't think Trayvon Diggs for long can cover A.J. Brown. Dallas Goddard, can Anthony Barr or Leighton Vander Esch cover Dallas Goddard?
Leighton Vander Esch is really poor in coverage, so definitely not Vander Esch.
Yeah, so you take advantage of that. Dallas Goddard should have a big game. We're going to call him Philly Goddard this week. I'm sorry. Philly Goddard should have a big game. So we better see a completely different offensive game plan this week than we saw last week.
I think one of the big things is they're going to have to go to the air, but they're going to have to be pretty quick about it, whether that's in breaking routes. Like you may not be able to take those big 20, 30-yard shots to Quez Watkins and stuff, but I pulled it up on PFF. Most yards allowed at the cornerback position. Number 4 this year. Trayvon Diggs has already allowed 340 yards, a 62.9% reception percentage. 9th place, Anthony Brown. Their 2 most played cornerbacks are both allowing top 10 yardage through the air. You have to take full advantage of that. And I understand that one of the big things is going to be, can Jalen Hurts make the decisions? Can we keep the pressure off of Jalen Hurts? Can you keep that front 4 away? But if you go and follow Shane Haff, I don't have his Twitter handle right now, but he posted a really interesting stat earlier today about how they are generating the most pressure with their front 4 than any other team in the NFL. There's nothing coming from anywhere but the front 4. So if you can get a handle on those front 4 and give Jalen Hurts any type of time, remotely any type of time to make a good pass, or for the wide receivers to get open, it's going to be a big night, especially from a passing perspective for Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, Shane's Twitter, since you brought it up, Shane's Twitter handle at Haff, HAFFN, _TPO. So definitely check him out. He's really good. We're putting out a bunch of stats and videos. Excuse me. I forget where I was going to go there. But yeah, you're right. Like, you have to take advantage of the big play, liabilities. That's, teams struggle with continuing to do that because Dallas gets so much pressure with Parsons in their front 4. But also Dallas hasn't played as good of an offensive line as the Eagles have. So that's where, that battle becomes big. The best offensive line in football against the best, front 7, front 5, whatever you want to call it in football for potentially, I guess, because I still think San Francisco is a little bit better for Dallas. So that means that Dan Quinn against Shane Steichen and Nick Sirianni, like, Dan Quinn is proven that he can't be a head coach in the NFL, but he's a pretty damn good defensive coordinator. So I hope he does get a head coaching gig soon, so he leaves them. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a great battle, and like one that I just can't wait, dude. So like I said, 50 hours away, less than 50 hours away from game time. It's going to be amped in this area, and the link is going to be rocking.
Yeah, and I want to point out Leighton Vander Esch, while PFF grades him out well, he's only been targeted 12 times, so he's not seen a whole lot of work, but he's allowed an 83.3% reception percentage, and he has definitely these 2 linebackers have not been challenged by a tight end like they're going to be challenged by Dallas Goddard. He ranks number 1 among tight ends in yards per reception. So you might as well the linebackers might as well be a wash, because it's going to be the safeties who have to make sure they stop Dallas Goddard, because he's the one. He's going to get by the linebackers with ease, and he can make them pay. Like, when we get to talking about players who are due for a big game or players that we really are focused in on, I think Dallas I know that we talked about Trayvon Diggs and Anthony Brown and how they're giving up both top 10 yardage, but I think Dallas Goddard could be due for a huge game, but you got to work the middle of the field way more than you worked the middle of that field last week, because that was just putrid by Shane Steichen, that he completely avoided an area that we've been able to exploit so much this year.
So one of the other big things that came down over the last couple of hours, and we didn't touch base on it, so I want to now. CeeDee Lamb, now questionable. I think he's going to play, but that would be huge if he can't play on Sunday. That would
massive.
be big.
It would be massive
because he's their best outside threat. So like now you have to rely on Michael Gallup, Noah Brown, Kevontae Turpin, Dalton Schultz. Like, so that's going to be intriguing to see over the next day or two of how serious whatever injury he has. I didn't see what the injury is, but how serious that is going to be for Dallas, because if CeeDee Lamb can't play, that changes up what Gannon can do defensively. You can be a little bit way more aggressive if you don't have to worry about CeeDee Lamb on the outside.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it would be huge if he missed it. I'm just pulling up some stats. He does rank top 10 in targets, but I'm trying to figure out how they target the rest of the field. He has 46 targets, Noah Brown 27, and then of course Michael Gallup just got back there, so he has 7. But then it's Tolbert, Fihoko, like they have like 2, 4, 6, like they have nothing. He is the bulk of that offense on the outside. Like any opportunity to generate any type of big play, if they're forced to start pushing the ball down the field, would be very much damaged if CeeDee Lamb isn't there. But the fact that he appeared so late and the fact that he participated in the majority of practices this week, I believe, makes me pretty certain he will play as well. But how much could that hinder his game? That could be the real question, and that could play into James Bradbury or Darius Slay's favor, whoever's going to be on him. That could definitely play into their favor for sure.
Yep. So it'll be, it'll definitely be intriguing as we start getting final injury reports and whatnot. But yeah, so the Dallas defense. I mean, we didn't even talk about Doris Armstrong, who I think he had the sack fumble that DeMarcus Lawrence picked up on Matthew Stafford last week. They have guys that are just playing out of their minds right now on the defensive side of the ball, on the defensive line. So hopefully the Eagles' healthy offensive line is up for the task. Before we get to our prediction and our players to watch for, we know that the Eagles are struggling on special teams, especially punt return. What are your thoughts on number 10 potentially coming back to Philly?
Yeah, I tweeted about it earlier, and I kind of said, like, if he's willing to accept a very much minimized role, because obviously this is AJ Brown, this is Devontae Smith, this is Dallas Goddard's offense. Like, you are not coming in and taking 5+ targets a game. You're going to be that big play threat when Quez needs a breather, and most importantly, you're going to return punts. Can you catch that ball? Can you handle that ball? Like, I think it would be most important to bring him in for a workout and work him out a ton, catching punts and catching kicks to make sure he can do it. Because I said it in the tweet, I would be more than open to bringing him in as a major help on the special team side of the football. Ultimately, like, somebody stepped in and kind of defended Britton Covey. And my thing with Britton Covey is his role is literally that. And the fact that in back-to-back games, he has muffed a punt, the fact that he's been extremely ineffective when returning punts, I would be open to anything that would give us an opportunity to generate anything on all 3 fronts. Because one front that has been really bad has been minus the kickers, of course, and the punters, because Sipas has been good, and then Dicker, the kicker, and Sipas hasn't been that good. Sipas has been pretty effective. He's got a lot. He
keeps the ball into the end zone too many times.
He does, but he still ranks very highly among punters in dropping kicks within the 20-yard, within 0 to 20 yards, and stuff. So he's still decent, but it's the kickers. Dicker, the kicker, and Jake Elliott have been the most effective part, but they've also allowed kicks to be blocked. The punt return's been really bad. We've allowed some decent sized punt returns, some kick returns. Like, if we can improve anything to make us more of a 3-front team versus a 2-front team, that would be humongous. So I bring him in, work him out. If you punt him a ball 50 times and he catches that ball 50 times, a vet's minimum deal would be I'd be more than open to doing that.
Yeah, he would have to be open to just being a punt returner, which I don't think he might. I don't know. he is in the back end of his career. But like,
yeah,
if you look
because
at
it's unfortunate because Quez pretty much only comes off the field for Zach Pascal, and Zach Pascal comes on for blocking purposes, and then Devontae Smith and AJ Brown never leave the field, so he would have to be prepared to accept that. And like the fact that the two teams he mentioned as a return possibility are the Eagles and the Packers, he just wants a Super Bowl. He's ring hunting at this point. So if we go to him and we say, we'll bring you back to Philly, you can ring hunt with us, but you are 100% a punt returner, hopefully he would say yes. But I would be open to it. 10? Can he still run a 4.3 or 4.4 and catch a football effectively as a punt returner? I would.
Can he stay healthy though? Because I feel like the last 2 years that he was here, he was hurt. And then if you look at Dallas' special teams, Kevontae Turpin he was really good in the preseason, and he's had a couple of returns in the regular season. But like he's been a guy. He was really good in the USFL, and he showed his speed in preseason, as I mentioned. And Brett Maher may not be as good as he was, but he did kick the 61-yarder against us a few years back. So, and we'll have Jake Elliott back this week, I think. So Jake is healthy, and Cameron Dicker, the kicker, will stay on the practice squad after winning Special Teams Player of the Week last week. The Eagles have won an award every week, plus had the Offensive Player of the Month for September. So you keep winning games, you'll keep getting awards.
Yeah, right, and you did mention Turpin. He does only have 6 punt returns, obviously, because I don't think surprisingly the defense is still forcing a lot of turnovers and stuff. He does have 6 returns, and ranks 7th in yards per return, average yards per return. So he's pretty effective when given the opportunity. So hopefully we don't have to give him that opportunity often.
Yep. All right, Connor, it's that time. We need your offensive player to watch, your defensive player to watch, maybe a key or two, and your prediction for week 6, Monday Night Football, Eagles, Cowboys. Give it to me.
Well, I kind of alluded to him earlier. I'm going Dallas Goddard this week. You got to attack the middle of the field. You got to attack those safeties and linebackers. While they have been decent in coverage or been effective, I don't think they've faced a tight end quite like Dallas Goddard, with the ability that he can do, breaking tackles, making big plays, doing a lot of things tight ends don't really. You want to trend towards getting a tight end that does this, but he does everything so effectively right now. He's definitely one of the top 5 tight ends in the league, especially with, George Kittle not doing as well, Darren Waller with his injuries, and so Kyle Pitts struggling. Like a lot of these guys, like it's Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, and then it's a crapshoot. So Dallas Goddard can definitely maybe even be called a top 3 tight end because he does everything.
If we can get 4 touchdowns out of Dallas Goddard, like
Kelce Travis Kelce on Monday.
I don't care. He can have 25 yards, but if he has 4 touchdowns, I'm good with it.
So that's definitely my player to watch because I think that he can take advantage of those linebackers and then the safeties, whatever. Once you reach the safeties, you've done your job at that point. You've probably more than got your first down and done your job that you need to do. So continuing to make big plays and be that effective weapon. And offensively, just attack the middle of the field. Like we threw one ball to the center of the field. Everything else was to the left and the right last week, and a lot less screens. Please, we don't need to see those. And the way like Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence, they're athletic. They'll get after that. Like if you throw a screen, this is a type of team that you're going to get 1 or 2 yards and be blown up immediately or negative yardage immediately. So get away from that. Like almost complete opposite game plan than what we saw last week. I mean, on the flip side of the ball, for if I was looking at Dallas, it's DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons. Those are the 2 guys you have to watch 100%. Yes, Trayvon Diggs has, I think, 6 pass breakups and 2 interceptions. Yes, he can break up a lot of passes, but if you throw the ball his way a whole lot, he's going to give up yards. He's going to give up plays. It might be at the sacrifice of potentially a pick or a couple pass breakups, but you will get the plays if you attack Anthony Brown and Trayvon Diggs. Other side of the ball for the Eagles, it's got to be on the edges. I feel like it's got to be on the edges to really make something happen this week, and we point to them often. But Josh Sweat had a pretty good game last week, so from a pressure perspective, while he didn't, he may not have a multi-sack game or anything, I want to see Brandon Graham have a big night. I think Brandon Graham's the guy who has to have a big night. I would point to a cornerback, but I think the cornerbacks can have a really good night. I think they can have an effective night if they can keep CeeDee Lamb under control and keep a guy roaming over top just in case CeeDee Lamb breaks free. So I'm going with Brandon Graham on this one. I think he could have a big game. I think he was a bit quieter last week. He's been a bit quieter in the last couple of games. I think he can have a nice game. And I think him being effective makes everybody else along the defensive line way more effective. So that can make for a really good game defensively for the Eagles. Prediction. Oh, boy. This is one of the games I hate predicting. I really I'm going Philadelphia because I think like the defenses are really good, but if forced to go shot for shot, the Eagles can do it. And if forced to make a play happen to get points on the board, I think the Eagles can do it over the Cowboys. So I'm going, I do think it'll be a defensive game. I do think like people are going to start getting louder about Jalen Hurts. And no, maybe he's not the franchise QB. Like this feels like a game where potentially the noise gets a little louder after a semi-ineffective game last week. And then this week I'm predicting a bit of inefficiency. I'm going 21-17 for the Eagles.
Okay. And there will be talk about Jalen. The Eagles have more wins than he has touchdown passes right now. It's a little sad.
Yeah, but I also want to point out, I think there's overreaction in regards to how many passing touchdowns he has because he's on pace for insane passing numbers. Like the fact that, we get to the red zone and they're effective on the ground. That's how they choose to score their points. Should not be held against Jalen Hurts' passing game. Personally, my feeling.
Probably not. It is insane though that he has 4 touchdown passes and they have 5 wins. I'm just saying. And he's been pretty good this year. So on the defensive side of the ball, I mentioned him earlier. I'm going to go Jordan Davis. They're going to have to stop Elliott. You're going to have to stop Pollard. And I think it's going to start with Jordan Davis. He played his most snaps last week, if I'm not mistaken. So let him come out there and let him eat up the middle of that offensive line for Dallas and allow for the edges, as you were talking about, Josh Sweat, Brandon Graham, Hassan Reddick, to be able to get around, the tackles and to get after Cooper Rush if needed. On the offensive side of the ball, I'm going to go A.J. Brown, and this is more on Steichen and Sirianni. Don't abandon getting the ball to A.J. Brown. Just I still can't it can't be explained to me that that's happened last week. So continue to I'm not saying force feed the ball to A.J. Brown, but get him the football so that he can make plays against Trayvon Diggs or Anthony Brown, whoever he's going to be up against. And my prediction, it's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a close game. 21-20 Eagles.
Ooh, boy. You got it closer than me. You got it really close.
Yeah, I
find it like the way it's been, like I always predict, like we've been predicting like higher, but they still go higher than what we predict. And now I'm at a point where this game feels like a game where they could be lower than we predict. Like this feels like a real defensive game. And that's why I feel like we have a chance to be effective offensively, but it's going to start with protecting Jalen Hurts and allowing Jalen Hurts to be able to make the plays. And then this is one of those situations where can Jalen Hurts make the plays? This is going to be an opportunity to prove it. Can you get the points that we need? Because essentially, based on what the Dallas Cowboys from a scoring perspective have done this year, you put up 21 points. That's it. That's essentially all you need to do. Get the 21 points, get 24 points. That's pretty much all you need to do. And then the defense just has to do the rest of the heavy lifting for us. So like couple touchdowns, 3 touchdowns, maybe a couple field goals, 2 touchdowns, a couple field goals could be all you really need to put the game out of reach.
Hopefully. We say that, and then the Eagles defense will go back to last year's defense, and we'll be pissed off about it come Tuesday when we're back here talking about it. Next week, I think, is a 1-week show because we have a bye week already. I totally forgot and totally didn't realize that the Eagles were on a bye week after this week. Do you have concerns about the Eagles looking ahead to the bye week at all?
No, I really do think that they're really like laser focused in on Dallas in this game, and the way the media has spun it and the interviews have gone, whether it be DeMarcus Lawrence or the Philadelphia Eagles, they're definitely laser focused on this game. And I think they are similar to us, unlike other people we've chatted to, in that they know this game is important. They know that they need to win this game. They know that they cannot potentially go from first to third place in literally one night. That could be all it takes, one loss. And it could be something that the people who said, we're still good. We're still good, don't worry about it. At the end of the season, if we're tied and we're fighting for that final spot and we need the win because we don't have the tiebreaker, you don't want that type of situation to have. So divisional games, I take 6-0. I want 6-0 all day, every day in the division. I don't
Not
care.
to look ahead. If you win this game and you're 6-0, you have Pittsburgh after the bye. Pittsburgh has never won a game in Philadelphia. And they
are not looking good.
They're
either.
not good at all. They have a bunch of people out like Minkah Fitzpatrick and a couple of the guys, like defensive guys out. So like not looking ahead, but that's potentially 7-0. And like you just start looking at the schedule and it's like, all right, so when are the Eagles going to lose the game next? So
based on how banged up some of the guys are, like having the early bye week is kind of a blessing for us, but I hope that they can get 100% and stay 100%. Like
and not lose any of the
benefit. And yes, don't lose any of the momentum.
Back in 2016, they were 3-0 or whatever, had the early bye, like the week 4 bye. And then they were 3-0, 4-0, whatever it was, had a bye, and then they only won like 2 or 3 games the rest of the year. So we definitely don't want that to happen. But like again, not looking past Dallas, but if you beat Dallas and go 6-0, you look at the schedule and be like, Pittsburgh could win. Look at the schedule as it's going forward, then you're like, who's going to beat? Like you may have a question up, and you may not think of a loss up until potentially the Green Bay game, but we will see. All right, so Connor has the Eagles winning 21-17. I have the Eagles winning 21-20. Regardless of what happens, it's going to be a close, nail-biting game, and one we hopefully can't wait to talk about on Tuesday evening. Thank you all for joining us on this stream, and thank you for all your comments, Dave, Chris, and everybody else. We appreciate you guys tuning in with us. As always, thank you for listening to the Kelly Green Hour. Go Birds, beat Dallas.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
You want Philly?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sanders patiently running. Sanders good cut. And another block. Sanders still going inside the 40.